All right, the time is now 6 p.m. Our regular city council meeting for October 22nd, 2024 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Hayward will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Bow your heads. Dear God, thank you for allowing us to make it here safely without any incident or accident. And as we come together today with gratitude for a chance to serve our community, we ask for your wisdom as we discuss important matters and make decisions. Help us to listen to each other and consider the needs of all of our residents. Give us the courage to act with compassion and integrity, seeking the common good. May our time together be productive and respectful, and may we work toward a brighter future for the city of Schertz. I ask these blessings in your son's name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Hayward. All right, I'm going to reverse the order here on our presentations. First, we're going to do the presentation for TML Municipal Excellence, and then we'll do the poster presentation. That way we can take a little more time and take some photos. So first on the agenda then will be the presentation of the TML Municipal Excellence Award. Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Pretty heavy. So for those that were there at the TML conference, I know that everyone was here for the award, but I am excited to be here. And if I could ask the library staff that are here, so we have Melissa, Yulhorn, Lizzie, Bertoria, Katrina, and Joni. And so during the 2024 Texas Municipal League Annual Conference in Houston, the city of Schertz was honored and received a 2024 Municipal Excellence Award in the City Spirit category for cities over 25,000 in population. So this award recognized the city for its Adopt a Grandparent program. And for this program, the Schertz Public Library partnered with Legacy at Forest Ridge, a local senior living community, to create an Adopt a Grandparent for the Holidays event. This low-cost program allows Schertz citizens to adopt residents of the senior community and provide them with gifts for the holidays. Over 325 items were distributed last December at a celebration reception. Additionally, the city was also recognized as a finalist in the Management Innovations category for the Schertz Emerging Leaders Program, which fosters the next generation of city leaders. So, Mayor, Mr. Williams, if y'all could come down so we could take a picture, please. And then I'm going to turn the mic over real quick to Melissa to talk about the program a little bit more.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted, we invited some special guests with us, so I think as soon as we take do this presentation and then take our picture, we're going to invite a couple of our partners from the Legacy at Forest Ridge up to take a picture too. We're very excited that they were able to be here tonight. Without the wonderful staff and the wonderful residents at that facility, we wouldn't actually have a program, so we're very excited that they can come and share in this with us tonight. But first, that thing was heavy at TML, and I expect it to be heavy here tonight, too. So. Squeeze. Thank you all so much. And who gets to keep this?
Goes in the trophy case. The trophy case. Do you have one at the library?
Well, we could get one.
Oh, let's make one. Thank you all so much. Once again, thank you to our city staff. Our city has been recognized by TML for for the recognition that you provide for our city and also the program for itself when adopt a grandparent. Thank you so much.
Okay, our program for 2024 is going to begin on November 20th. So the grandparent stockings from Legacy, we'll have them all up in the library starting that day for adoption. And last year we adopted them all out within 4 hours. So it goes super fast. Yep.
All right, next on the agenda is the Fire Prevention Poster Contest, awards and presentations.
Yeah. Council members, Mayor Gutierrez, Mr. Williams, thank you for the opportunity to take a little time to be able to present these awards today, in which we're presenting 2024 Fire Prevention Month Poster Contest winners. So here with me today is our Fire Chief, Greg Rogers, Assistant Chief, John Perry, Fire Prevention Specialist, Jacob Amerson, and myself, Deputy Fire Marshal James Richards. For those that don't know the history, we like to work with our young ones in the community to reach out to encourage fire prevention early on. And to help us do that, we reach out to our schools to interact with them through many events. One such is the Fire Prevention Month poster contest. And in doing so, we work with SCUCISD schools as well as Founders Classical Academy and Schools of Science and Technology, as well as many others. Then you as council members, the mayor and Mr. Williams, and our wonderful city staff get the opportunity to judge, and these are the results of those judging. So we'll go ahead with that. So we'll be starting with our kindergarten through first grade winners. On the board, you can see our finalists right now. And our third place winner, we want to invite up Carter Campbell. There.
Come on, Carter, step up here, buddy.
Come on, right over here.
Good job, brother.
Congratulations. We're going to take a picture with all of them.
Our second place winner is Miss Emma Stark.
One more, Emma. Good job.
And our first place winner is Miss Elena Gonzalez.
Let's take a picture. Come here.
We now have our second and third place finalists, which third grade, thank you. In which our third place is Miss Meta Cuccaretti.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Our second place winner is Griffin Boney. Now, our first place winner is Harley Cortines.
Congratulations.
And each year, the mayor has his choice, in which it's the Mayor's Choice Award, which he selected Noel Snape. We'd like to ask all our winners to come up so we can take one big group picture.
Thank you. No, I just want to say thank you to everyone that participated, and I appreciate it. Now, it is a school night. Tomorrow you all have to school. That's why I wanted to turn it around a little so that we can get you all presented with your trophies and on your way home, because you have to go to school tomorrow. And the thing about going to school tomorrow, you can show off and tell everyone you got a trophy. All right. Thanks, guys. Okay, we'll continue with our city council meeting. Next on the agenda is announcements of upcoming events. Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So Saturday, October 27th, will be Walk with a Naturalist at Crescent Bend Nature Park, and that will be from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Saturday, November 9th, is the Nature Discovery Series, Discover Early Texas, at Crescent Bend Nature Park, and that is from 9:30 to 11 o'clock in the morning. On Monday, November 11th, city offices will be closed for Veterans Day. There will be the Schertz Selma Veterans Day ceremony that will be at 9 o'clock at 200 South Main Street in Cibolo. Everyone's welcome. And then finally, our next regularly scheduled city council meeting will be Tuesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Next on the agenda is announcements and recognitions by our city manager, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple. So in the police department, we had a very successful car fit program, car fit event. We had 22 community members come out and they got their car fitted and make sure everything was set up the right way. And want to send out a big thank you to University Health, Methodist Healthcare System, Texas A&M AgriLife, Extension Services, Schertz PD Citizens Police Alumni Association, and of course Anna Kraft for putting that all together and making it a really successful event. Schertz Elementary also had a trunk or treat event, and Officer Flowers had a great time out there visiting with all the families and getting to see them. Also, it is, as we're all aware, National Breast Cancer Month, and a young man named Xander came by the police department and wanted to donate to the fundraiser. So during National Night Out, he had passed the hat, and during his neighborhood's block party, raised $58. So the police department wants to say a big thank you to Xander. In the library, of course, we just heard about the TML award, but also they launched their new community-driven resources. The Seed Library has a grand opening this past weekend on September 30th, and that was, on Sunday, October 20th, and that was a big success. Also, I have a couple of things that I want to share that I really like getting these, but I've had several commendations and kudos letters and notes from citizens over the past month. One was from a resident, a gentleman who rides his bike in the park every weekend, and he wanted to give a big kudos to Darianne Douglas, the Parks Department, and just noticed that she has such joy and takes pride in what she does and does an excellent job, so he wanted to acknowledge her for that. And then I got a note from our own Mickey Terleski, who likes to come frequent our council meetings, and was giving kudos for the police website. She had gone on there and noticed that it had been updated and is very easy to navigate and use, and wanted to say thank you for making it so easy. Also, in the permits department, we had a woman named Tatiana Trevino who was in a bit of a rush and had gotten in a bind and needed a same-day inspection of her roof, of the felt for their roof, so they could get it going, their project going. And she spoke to Michelle, who took care of her and didn't necessarily make any promises, but got Cody to go out there, and he worked it into his schedule to get that inspection done same day to keep their project moving and not have any delays. Also, I got another one from Emmanuel Garza, who's a contractor, talking about how easy and how responsive our staff is when doing permits for roofs as well. And he was commending Michelle and Waylon and Armando for such excellent service. So I just want to point that out and say thank you to the staff and let the public know, council know, and everyone know what an excellent job they do.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right. Announcements and recognitions by the mayor. I have none at this point. Next on the agenda is the hearing the residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the city council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. Now, we do have 2 public hearings, and you do have a choice. You may speak during the hearing the residents, or you may choose to wait until the public hearing, or you may speak at both. The option is yours. Mayor Pro Temp, please call our first speaker.
Dr. Miguel Vasquez.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City staff. My name is Dr. Miguel Vasquez. I'm here representing Schertz Cemetery. And if you don't know about the cemetery, it's the only public cemetery in Schertz right now. I'm also happy to report that several residents of Schertz have found us and have decided to buy plots and as well as being buried at the cemetery. So this makes it nice for their families. They don't have to go to San Antonio or somewhere else. They've been living here. They'd like to stay here, and so we offer that convenience for them. So also, since receiving the Texas Historical Marker last year, as you recall, the cemetery has become a destination point as well. So the things that we like to do with the cemetery is obviously preserve local Texas history. And in that regard, I've received several calls from the Texas Historical Commission and other historical commissions, and they would like to work with us and put our website along with their website. So things are going very well, and the thing that I wanted to invite you to is that we will be having an open house, not this weekend, next weekend. Hopefully you have this invitation. in front of you. And so what we're going to have is actually two dedications, dedication of a county historical marker, and we're also dedicating a child's memorial. We have several children that were buried at this cemetery in years past, going back 80, 90 years. And we know that the children are there from their death certificates, but they don't have a marker. So what we've done is created one big marker and put all the kids' names on it so that we don't forget them. So come on out, we're gonna have munchies, the dedication, mariachis will be there. Maybe we will play some loteria for Dia de los Muertos. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is consent agenda items. These are considered self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 1, minutes. Item number 2, ordinance 24S-156. Item number 3, resolution number 24R-145. Item number 4, ordinance number 24S-155. Item number 5, resolution number 24R-134. And item number 6, resolution number 24R-127. Council, do any of these need to be removed for separate action? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 6?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Macaluso and second by Councilmember Hayward. Any other comments? None. Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 5 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. We'll move on to discussion items. Item number 7, resolution number 24R-120, authorizing contract with H2O Partners and Planning and Management Services for Local Hazard Mitigation Plans programs. This item has been postponed until further notice. There will be no discussion on this one, so we'll move on to our public hearing. Item number 8, ordinance number 24S-154. Conduct a public hearing and consider amendments to Part 3 of the Schertz Code of Ordinances, Unified Development Code, UDC, to Section 5, Section 21.5.9, Special Districts, and Article 9, Section 21.9.3, Lots, Section 21.9.8, Screening and Fencing, Section 21.9.9, Tree Preservation and Mitigation, Section 21.9.12, and Site Plan Process, and Article 16, Definitions, and this is our first reading. Ms. Marcus, floor is yours.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Mr. Williams. Ordinance 24S-154, proposed UDC amendments to Article 5, Article 9, and Article 16, Daisy Marquez, Planner. So just some background, staff periodically reviews the development process to make improvements, which includes reviewing the UDC for clarity and cohesion. These proposed UDC amendments were initiated by the Planning Division staff and are meant to clarify the intent of the Unified Development Code and clean up lingering language removed from previous amendments. So I'll just go one by one through each article. So for Article 5, we're proposing amendments within Section 2159 Special Districts to remove the purpose and intents of these special districts as they can no longer be requested. This was Agricultural Plan Development District, Mixed Use Plan Development District, and Design Overlay District. Article 9, and specifically subsection 2193, it required all setbacks to be shown on plats and defined setbacks. This is no longer consistent with our development manual requirements, and setbacks are clearly defined in Article 16 definitions. So we thought that was sufficient, and we're removing the language from here. And then again, Article 9, but Section 2198, screening and fencing. We wanted to just make the UDC more clear that chain link and similar fencing are not to have screening attached. So think of chain link fence with that plastic that people weave through. We're just making it clear that we don't want that. But but also modify language to be cohesive with the recent Article 7 nonconforming agricultural operations UDC amendments to make sure everything matches. And then Section 2199, tree preservation and mitigation. We are removing the undesirable trees list that was removed with the prior UDC change. So it's mentioned in the UDC, but it no longer exists within our UDC. And then expansion of the exempted trees list, which prevents the mitigation and payment of invasive tree species. And then Section 21912, to remove applications that no longer require an approved site plan as part of the application. And then removal of the pre-application conference requirement for approval of a site plan, building permit issuance, and certificate of occupancy. That doesn't match with our development process. And then Article 16, we added in height to the definition of mixed-use self-storage to make it clear that the number 45 was referring to a 45 minimum height requirement for that use. So when staff looks at UDC amendments, we look to UDC Section 2147D for the criteria for approval. So one, the proposed amendment promotes the health, safety, or general welfare of the city and the safe, orderly, efficient, and healthful development of the city. So staff proposes UDC amendments from time to time to proactively better the UDC that governs the development within the city of Schertz. And these proposed amendments are necessary for consistency with changes already made within the UDC. And additionally, they provide clarification on sections of the UDC used by multiple departments. And more specifically, the proposed amendments to Article 9, Section 2199, tree preservation and mitigation, adds invasive tree species to the exempt tree table that are not desirable and are classified as invasive to our area. The proposed amendments have been reviewed by our Parks Director, and there are no objections to the amendments. And additionally, staff had the pleasure of meeting with the representative from the Texas A&M Forest Service to discuss the proposed additional exempt tree species. 2, an amendment to the text is consistent with other policies of this UDC and city. The proposed amendments are meant to clean up lingering UDC language that has remained and to clarify the intent of the UDC. 3, any proposed amendment is consistent with the goals and objectives of this UDC and city. And the proposed UDC amendments are consistent with the goals and objectives of this UDC and the city, as they are meant to help keep the UDC consistent with previously approved amendments. And the operational values of the city include being proactive and service-oriented. And by being proactive with these proposed UDC amendments, staff can provide a better experience within the development process. 4, other criteria which at the discretion of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council are deemed relevant and important in the consideration of the amendment. So staff has ensured all UDC requirements have been met for these proposed UDC amendments, and at this time have not received special considerations from the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council. So we'll just go through the red lines for each section, kind of just showing you here for 2193 lots that we're removing language that no longer matches with our development process and that is redundant. For 2198 screening and fencing, just showing you here how we added the language that chain link or similar woven wire mesh, provided no screening is attached, making that clear since we were having issues with that. And then in subsection 2B, you can see that we cleaned up the language so it matched with our non-conforming UDC amendment. And the same, but within the commercial subsection of screening and fencing, and some cleanup. And then another subsection B to match the agricultural operations amendment as well. And then within tree preservation and mitigation, you can see that we added a significant number of exempted trees. The issue is that essentially if it was not on the exempted tree list, people were paying for what some might consider trash trees, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't making people pay unnecessary fees. And then again, more trees, cleanup of tree mitigation, cleaning up again more sections that were removed or no longer exist. More cleanup. And then 21912, the site plan process. Here you can see we removed PDD or SUP requiring a site plan for those processes. That was removed a while ago. And then the requirement of a pre-application conference. We do offer free pre-development meetings, so don't worry, we still offer those. Anyone can request those at any time. And then just more cleanup of language here, removing the ordinary, it was not necessary. And then matching language with previous amendments that Mr. Haas has done. And then here's Article 16, just showing that we added in height to the end to clarify that. So the proposed UDC amendments promote consistency throughout the UDC and provide additional clarity in the development process. So staff recommends approval of Ordinance 24S-154. And the Planning and Zoning Commission met on September 4th and held a public hearing and made a recommendation of approval with a 6-0 vote. Any comments or questions?
All right, thank you, Ms. Marquez. All right, this item is on the agenda as an open public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the council in reference to this subject? Going once, going twice. Public hearing is closed. All right, council floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, can I get a clarification on the chain link fencing portion? Is this strictly residential chain link fencing? When we say there's going to be no covering on chain link fencing, are we referring to strictly residential?
It would also be for commercial, sir.
So do we differentiate between if it's a construction area, a temporary chain link fence versus a permanent fence?
Yes, so the covering on top of chain link is allowed during construction periods. It's part of that process.
Okay, and if it's a permanent fence, are we saying there's no coverings at all? So for example, if you look at Clemens High School, right down here, when we say no coverings or anything on the fence, along Schertz Parkway, they have all of those different signs for their students that are attached to the chain link fence that obstruct the view and hang on the fence. And if you look right behind it, we've got the ball field that's got covering on the chain link fence. And I believe they've got some also down on the tennis courts down on Elbel.
So I think the intent is the slats,
Yes.
right? And so we can certainly tweak the wording. So long-standing practice has been you can't do chain link fence with the plastic slat. So we wouldn't consider the tennis court mesh to keep the wind from blowing in, or the cups or the signage. Well, let me say it's not signage.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not
Yeah,
going
that-
back
that
to the
is-
school and telling them that they have to
That
take
is not
this.
what we're talking about. No, this is
Okay.
intended, in most communities, don't allow the chain link with slats. Is it. And so we can clarify the language between first and second reading.
Thank you.
Councilmember Westbrook.
Yes, is there a, so in your presentation, it's from time to time. What are the triggers for reviewing the UDC?
It just depends if we're having issues with a specific UDC section. So for example, this was all triggered because of the tree preservation and mitigation. We were having a lot of discussions and people wanted to make sure it was clarified that they didn't pay for invasive trees. And we didn't really have an exemption in our UDC for that. So we wanted to make sure that was all covered. So for example, that was a trigger. You all can also request us to go back and review the UDC.
So a lot of the things, for example, that we've talked about in the past, so for instance, the paver, the pool, the impervious surface, that'll prompt a UDC amendment, so policy direction from council. But a lot of times what it is, it's staff finding things that create confusion or slow the process down, or general policy direction we have from council that, hey, we want to be working this way, this is the direction we want to go, and then staff takes a crack at changing the language to kind of move us that. That's kind of what you're looking for?
Yes, sir. No, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, the other is if we have a lot of developers or residents complaining about something, that'll prompt it, for example, as well. If we hear a lot of complaints from residents, or we hear a lot of complaints from developers, often that'll prompt us to have the conversation.
So I've seen nothing but professionalism from you and your staff, but is there like a flow chart? So when every now and then I'll see a developer and they'll say, oh, Schertz is difficult to work with. And I think we had this discussion already last meeting. But is there like a flow chart that a developer comes in and says, it's like a recipe, these are the steps I need to take to?
There is, and again, one thing that we often talk about with this is there are numerous different flow charts. So it's not a single flow chart, right?
Okay.
So when somebody walks in the door, as an example, if the first thing they say is, hey, I want to develop an office building on this piece of land. If that piece of land is zoned so that it doesn't allow office,
That's a different process than if they walk in and say, I want to buy a piece of platted land that's already zoned, then it's a building. So yeah, there are flow charts for processes, but it varies based on the situation. It also can vary as to whether or not the developer wants to meet all of the requirements of the city codes, or whether they don't want to meet all the requirements of the city codes, and they want to either ask for a variance, they need to do a rezoning, they need to go to P&Z or staff waiver, things like that. But again, and I want to say this, while we took the requirement out for a pre-development meeting, the best thing a developer can do is have a pre-development meeting where they come in with some information, some level of information, so that we can kind of go through that process and understand what they want to do. Same thing, we've had some conversations about these sort of smaller business owners, entrepreneurs, and how we help handhold them through the process. And again, as an example, often they have a grand vision, but they don't have necessarily the funds to get to the grand vision right away, and so it's a stepped process of, okay, well, let's start by doing this. This can get you in, get you open for a CO, and then you have to do this, and then you can do this, right? Those are what we run into as well. And so the pre-development meeting on both those is super helpful. I think the only thing I would say where our process is maybe, and it is longer, is we require the certification. So based on the change to state law that starts those clocks ticking, in order to submit an application, you have to have a certification. So basically, you sort of go through the process on the front end to let us work with them, get the certification. Once you get the certification, then you can actually officially submit your plat application, and you're in and approved within 30 days because essentially we've done all the work on the front end. So I think sometimes in talking to people, it seems to be a longer process, and in a way it is because of those steps. I don't know that they add that much time. But again, I think what you often have are issues outside of staff's control. So they're hung up with another entity or another agency. And then certainly I think there are times where staff is slow getting comments out. It's a confusing situation. You know, stuff that we need to be doing to smooth the process out, we certainly can do, if that sort of makes sense.
Yes, sir, it does. Last question. How much does it cost to cut down a tree, like a protected tree? What are we talking about, per inch or?
Yeah, so it depends if it's protected or heritage. It's either a 1-to-1 ratio, so 1 inch is $100, or it's a 1-to-3 ratio, and it's 1 inch for $300.
Thank you.
Thinking about cutting down trees.
No,
your
sir,
house.
not
Run by
at that
Councilman
price.
Westbrook's house, and let's get some photos of the trees, please.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
No. No, we don't mark times. We never have open with a time or start or completion. Any other comments? Yes. Oh, it is written down? Okay. Okay. All right. Councilmember Brown.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 24S-154.
Second.
Before we vote on that, I believe it was with additional verbiage to clarify the chain link fencing. Does that need to be part of the motion?
It certainly can be, but I think staff understood that as the direction. We're going to make it either way.
Then I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion that was made by Councilmember Brown and second by Councilmember Hayward, is to provide the additional verbiage to clarify the chain link fencing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilmember Westbrook. We'll vote on this amendment first. If you can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 5 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. Now we'll go back to the original motion made by Councilmember Brown and second by Councilmember Hayward. Council, if you can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 5 ayes, no objections, motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 9, ordinance number 24S-162. Conduct a public hearing to consider closing and abandoning to the abutting property owner a portion of Troy Lane right-of-way from Wiederstein Road north to the end of approximately 600 feet and a portion of Shady Lane right-of-way from Wiederstein Road north to the end approximately 600 feet and to establish an effective date thereof. This is our first reading. Mr. Novak, chair is yours. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Keeping with my tradition, start off with a question. Why was Cinderella not good at soccer? She's always running from the ball. Hey, good evening. We're here to talk about Fire Station number 4. And this is a copy of the original plat of the subdivision where Fire Station number 4 is located. It's highlighted in red. This is a very large subdivision that was done a long time ago that actually spans beyond the city limits of what is now Schertz. And in the middle there, kind of on the sheet south of where the red outline is, the street was known by a different name than Wiederstein. It's Wiederstein now, and you can kind of see the 2 lines in the middle there where Schertz Parkway is. But it wasn't really called Schertz Parkway by this original plat. We zoom in a little bit. This is just a closer look of that area. The green highlighted areas are the 2 street segments that we're asking to abandon or vacate. And they become part of this single larger lot that will be outlined in red in the aerial view on the right-hand side. And that would be for the site of the Fire Station 4. This would allow us to replat the area into one single large lot. We did send out notifications to the adjacent property owners. I only heard from the property owner of the parcels to the north, the nursery, and they have indicated they're in favor, they support this proposed vacation. That, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Novak. All right, this item is on the agenda as an open public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the council in reference to this subject? Going once, going twice. All right, public hearing is closed. Council floor is open for discussion. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 24S-162?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Hayward and second by Councilmember Macaluso. Any comments? Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 5 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. We'll move on. We have 2 workshops. The first one is item number 10, Street Preservation and Maintenance Workshop. Mr. Novak, you're going to entertain us with a second joke?
Well, I have a second one, but I was told it was too easy to guess, so I think I'll forego that one. Unless you really want to hear it, then I'd be happy to entertain it.
And Mayor, as a reminder, this is the quarterly update that streets and that Public Works and Engineering is doing to keep everybody abreast of what's going on with street maintenance and our street projects.
Okay. Give you an update on where we are with the SPAM program. The resurfacing project was previously approved by council. It was the construction contract was awarded on the 15th. R.L. Jones is the contractor, and the not to exceed amount was $2.4 million. The expected construction duration is about 4 months. In terms of when it's going to get started, I don't have the exact start date yet. I can tell you that the contractor is actively working to get his bonds and his insurance information to purchasing so the contract can be executed. He does want to get going on the project as quickly as possible. I will be scheduling a pre-construction meeting with him towards the end of this week, and we'll talk about schedule, and we'll put that information on our dashboard once we have it. The rehabilitation project, that's more effort than just resurfacing on the streets. That's where we're taking off all the pavement, recompacting, treating the material underneath and putting a new layer on. That one, we're finalizing our bid package right now. We expect to have that done and start advertising by the end of this month. And we anticipate having an award recommendation to you in November, so we can get started on that one. And this information will be, or is available on our dashboard. If you click on the 2024 spam rehabilitation, it highlights all the streets that are in that program. It provides you with some information. Now, this information is what we have to date, but we will be adding more information to that. I'm sorry, I clicked on the rehabilitation project here first. But as we get more information, like contractor information, start date, and all of that, we'll be putting that in there, and we'll be updating the description as time goes on. So that's the rehabilitation streets, and here's the resurfacing streets, all highlighted. And you can zoom in on the different areas, the different subdivisions, and you can see exactly which streets we're planning to do with this program.
Good evening. I'll go ahead look at the dashboard before we jump back into the presentation. Again, this is the streets maintenance dashboard. You can see those are the total numbers. But again, if you recall from last time, just to filter out this last quarter, what we're presenting on. That's the information available. So 155 potholes, 16 street issues. Again, the distinction between those is the pothole is an area 1 square yard or less, so roughly 3 by 3 or less. Street issues are larger. Street issues, typically asphalt in nature. Sidewalk issues or other concrete work, and then other issues are just kind of all those other things we work on that just take up time. Of course, we got limited crews, so when they're out working on these other issues, it takes away from the specific asphalt work. I'll also mention, as I'm getting back into the presentation here, we did go live as of this week, thanks to our Public Affairs Department. We got it on the website, so if you look under the Streets and Drainage main page on our website, there's a link for this dashboard. So it is available on as a link from the website. Again, just for example, so our goal here is, you can see 2 of those patches are the squared out, some we use the pothole truck for. One of them just has UPM material, so this is kind of highlighting the difference. So pothole patch is just that, where we put the patch material in. We don't prep the hole at all. Pothole repair is why we got the truck, right? So we can cut it out, square it off, and that lasts a lot longer. And so it's just the terminology we use. Our goal is to work ourselves out of doing potholes, right? So we hope as this goes along, we're doing less and less potholes, but also they're full repairs instead of UPM. We're not quite there yet, so we've done some patching still just to keep up with demand, especially on busier streets and that, but just examples of 2 types of patches. So again, some of the concrete and other repairs, so that's a driveway we worked on, sidewalk, that was done as repairs for water main breaks, and then other repairs are railing, maintained railing, and striping work. This is the stripe work at Curtis with the stop ahead that we did this last quarter. So those are just some of the other projects we're working on, examples. Again, these are some of our bigger asphalt jobs that fit in that streets maintenance repair. Also, as part of this is our crack seal program. So we did do 1.33 miles of crack sealing this last quarter. Typically, that slows down over the summer months because it stays hotter, and we don't want it to track if a vehicle goes through it right behind there. So generally, you'll see lower numbers on that during the summer months, and then we pick it up in the cooler months of the year. So again, from when we sorted the dashboard there. So the 16 street issues and the 155, and those are from the last quarter. So that's 12 tons of the pothole patch material and then 226 tons of asphalt. And they just kind of a list of the street repairs there. Just in case anybody's interested in a specific one. These can be level ups around manholes. It could be water line repairs from water line breaks in the street, or just larger areas that have multiple alligator cracking or potholes that are in a close area. We just cut a bigger area out. And the picture here, just to mention, is that's the Scenic Lake Drive. And so, not sure everybody's familiar with Scenic Lake Drive, but that was largely a base road, and we put some asphalt millings down. So it has a street repair because of the size of the quantities, but just a different one than you normally see. So we talked about last time the sidewalk inventory. So we do have worked on this dashboard. It is not on the website yet, but we have been working. So some of this data came from the 2019 PCI study. And earlier data. I'll zoom out a little bit here. This information was never, I'll just say it was never validated at the time, and then also it's very incomplete, right? So you can see there's large areas of the city that don't have that. And so we've concentrated on working on it. It takes a lot of time to validate this information. We'll say that for kind of this part of town, 3009 to the creek, we've validated a lot of that, so you can see that's a lot of good information. Typically high level, what we're concentrating on right now is whether there's sidewalk there or not, right? That's the major concern. Not necessarily the repair it's in. We do have contract dollars set aside to do repair work, a couple on-call contractors. Generally how we handle those. Also, sometimes if there's a main break and we have to cut out a section or a sewer repair, we'll handle that with contract. Or we might do in-house as well. But again, the big picture here is our first run through the city is just kind of determine, is there sidewalk there or not? So all the red dashed lines is missing sidewalk, right? There's no sidewalk in those areas. If it's a yellow or green line, it's a compliant or non-compliant. I don't want to get too stuck on that. So there's a couple of factors we can pick. We have not validated all that information yet for everything, but generally speaking, if it's a red dashed line, there's not a sidewalk, and if there's a line there, then there is a sidewalk. May be ADA compliant, may not be. We'll work through and add those other factors as we can validate this information going forward. So again, kind of the part of town here closer to City Hall, we've done all the way up to about Wiederstein Road, and then portions of Northcliffe as well. And that's going to be kind of the bulk of the areas where we're probably missing sidewalk, right? Again, we haven't quite validated all of that. And so GIS made this just quick dashboard for us, just so we have the large scale numbers so we know what that. And so of the information we have in there, again, incomplete, we have about 301,000 feet of current sidewalk, and about 48.5 thousand feet of that is missing. We have missing sections, right? And so we're already north of, probably $10 million on sidewalks if we just look at the missing portion so far. Of course, that number varies widely based on what's there. A lot of older parts of town have meter boxes in the sidewalks. They have poles that we need to move because of that. Driveways aren't compliant, right? And so it's hard to come up with the exact figure not for a specific project, but 48,000 feet of missing sidewalks so far. So working on validating that. Hopefully, we've been working on this since the last, not too long after the last meeting, and so it just takes a lot of time to do that. So that's where we're at so far. We talking about maybe getting this on the website, so we'll post it, and then we'll just have availability and we'll give information out. So if folks want to say, hey, I know there's sidewalk missing in this section or something, they can give us a call at Public Works. We'll start validating the rest of this map. Hopefully we can get a good map going forward, and then we can drill down into greater detail, whether it's ADA compliant, whether it's to current standards ADA compliant, whether it's compliant with our existing standards, because we do have higher standards in some case, as well as the width of sidewalk, so we know what's out there. All right, that's it. Questions?
All right, thank you. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Westbrook.
Yes, sir. So 301,000 of sidewalk, all the numbers are big, whether it's potholes and or sidewalk. But what's the, like, I'm trying to get a gauge about, is that a whole lot? Or is that about the norm?
So we concentrated on the specific, for the sidewalks, we concentrated on those specific areas because nowadays we have the standard of we're going to have sidewalk in front of everybody's house, right? Wasn't necessarily the case before. And so a lot of these areas are the ones we're just going to be missing on one side or the other. So I'm not sure what you mean by norm of, it depends what time frame, you know what I mean? These are established neighborhoods from
So based upon the dashboard, I could go in there and just sort of see how many kilometers of sidewalks was done fiscal year 24, or fiscal year 23, or calendar year 23, or what are we talking about?
So for the sidewalk map, this is just a current map of what sidewalks are missing or what sidewalks are there.
Yeah, I think I could maybe clarify a little bit. So the requirement to install sidewalks was not put into a later date than a lot of construction in the older part of town was done. So it's more of a CIP item than it is a maintenance item. We're gonna have to come back and probably bond that, and it'll be millions of dollars, I'm sure, if we were to go and install all of them everywhere. So it's something that we're trying to work into the CIP and plan for in the future. Is it a lot? I mean, it's relative to the community.
Yep.
Compared to some communities, it's not, but as we build out, it'll become a smaller and smaller percentage. But we do want to go back and address those gaps at some point. But we also have the issue of maintenance on sidewalks that we're keeping track of as we do it. We have areas where it's broken or it's just not held up over the years, and we're repairing those. So I think there's a distinction. There's a big chunk of what they're inventorying now that'll actually go into the CIP, and we'll find ways to try and fund that. And then also we'll measure our repairs as we go along. Is that clear?
That clarifies a lot. Yeah, that's layman's terms. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So the broken sidewalks, they were due to, you named 2 or 3 things, reasons why there's a broken sidewalk.
Broken sidewalks, ground shift and tree roots is very
Oh, tree
common in
roots,
established areas. Tree roots break the sidewalks, shifting.
Okay.
In terms of road maintenance and the potholes, I just want to throw one more comment in there. And the reason why I asked Larry to put this together and to report on it each month is so then we can start measuring that progress, because we haven't done that in the past on keeping track. How many potholes are we repairing, or patch repairs are we doing, or overlays, et cetera, that kind of thing. So we're starting that baseline of measurement, so over the years we can track that and track our performance and look at, when we redo the PCI for the entire community again at some future date, we can measure whether we're being effective with our extension of the life of the streets system.
Yep. You know, I think he put it best, but I was just looking for trending data, right? But y'all are essentially establishing the baseline now, looking forward. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Hey, Councilmember Macaluso.
I was going to say something, but Steve pretty much answered that. I just,
okay.
maybe on the future reports, just getting an idea of what the impact of the new equipment has provided in terms of increase in repairs and all.
I will say, and I'll throw this in there, the equipment has been very helpful because we're able to do a patch repair, whereas we're just kind of throwing and going with cold mix before, right? And we were just filling potholes, whereas now they can come in, they can cut a square and patch it, and it's gonna last exponentially longer than if you just throw cold mix in a hole.
Like I said, we're trying to work ourselves out of the pothole business. If we do full repairs, then
Yeah.
we have much less to do. But I will mention also, kind of mention it quickly, of course, we concentrate on different times this time of year, different times of year based on that. So we really need to establish kind of a whole year of data, and then we can really start comparing it, right? And so the numbers are down quite a bit from last time on the crack seal and on the pothole repairs because we did a lot of patching last time and now we're doing repairs. So they take a little bit longer, but they're more permanent. So we really need to establish more than a few quarters before we can really compare the data.
And honestly, the hope would be is that you would see the numbers decline in terms of the number of repairs we're doing, because we're taking better care of our streets and addressing those issues and making it last longer.
Council, any other comments? I do have a comment to say. I like this slide. I like this presentation because most of our residents are not, the most important road that they travel is the one they use. And they don't know what you're doing at some other part of our city or some other road that they've never seen before. And this gives us a whole new perspective of what was repaired, how much was repaired, how many potholes were taken care of. It really reflects on the work that our city staff is doing. And I just want to say thank you for providing this presentation. Appreciate it. Any other comments? No? Let's move on to our next workshop. Item number 11, workshop on design and location options of the municipal complex electronic sign. Mr. James.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian James, Deputy City Manager. So you may recall, I think back in September, we came to council with the contract to replace the electronic sign. And as you can see on the right, it's the current electronic sign. As you can see, it's not, you can't see. Let's see, blue, if we can get it up for council to see. Now we can see, thank you. On the right is the current sign, looking like it currently does, not working. The left is what it'll look like after the fact, where we chop the top off, leave the base there. Again, as you can see in the photo, the issue with the current sign location, it is under the power lines for GVC, which is a problem. GVC has long said, yeah, we don't like it, you can keep it there, but once the thing stops working and you need to do a major overhaul, really need to move it and replace it, and it's quit working, so it has to be replaced. So the idea is to adjust it. So the two questions, though, are what do we want the new sign exactly to say? And I've got 4 examples that we're looking for feedback on. Again, you can see now that's what the new sign will look like, but the question is really, what do we want the lettering to be? So in the first example, City of Schertz Municipal Complex, 1400 Schertz Parkway beneath it. Next one is Hal Baldwin Municipal Complex, City of Schertz, 1400 Schertz Parkway. It's got a lot of information. In some ways, I think it looks too busy from my perspective. The next one is City of Schertz, 1400 Schertz Parkway, and that is, I think, the cleanest of the signs, and the one I tend to prefer. A couple things to sort of let you know with the signs. Is if you'll note, we'll still have this one that says Hal Baldwin on it, and then the big, our typical stone sign right kind of in front of PD, that also says Hal Baldwin on it. So I'm not sure the need to fit Hal Baldwin on it is really necessary. And so I think from a staff perspective, we feel like this last one is kind of the cleanest sign, reminds you it's City of Schertz, which we want folks to know, hey, the things we're advertising, talking about, this is coming from the city, gives our address real big, and that would be staff's thought, but really looking for feedback from council if there was which you preferred or if you were okay with this one that staff was recommending.
Thank you, Mr. James. I'll start off. I like this one here. It's nice. Very clean. City of Schertz stands out. And like you mentioned, Hal Baldwin is just on the other side of the street. So we still keep the name of the complex in there. So that is the one I prefer because I love the larger letters of the City of Schertz. Yep. So, okay. But with that, Councilmember Hayward.
Love this one. Simple, does what it needs to do, and we don't need we have Hal Baldwin on 2 of them. I think it works. I love it. It's clean.
Councilmember Davis.
I agree. This one.
Okay. Any other comments, Council?
Concur.
We have Councilmember Brown's approval on that one too, and it seems like Councilmember Macaluso.
Agree.
Okay. So,
Mayor Pro Tem Westbrook, any comments?
I agree.
There we go. I think
now
it's
we have
unanimous.
A consensus.
all right. So the other part of this was when we
consensus.
started marking, and some of you, if you wander our parking lot out front, you may have noticed some marking on
the parking lot. Again, initially, we were thinking to try to put the sign in this location, which is, again, just out front and to the right, the way you face. The issue we have is that based on where the GVC lines are and some of the clearance, the way the sign actually sort of maps out with the shape and site, this poses a couple of problems. One is it creates a bit of sight distance issue for cars pulling around, and then the other is it extends out to get far enough away because of the ways the GVC easement comes in at an angle that creates some problems for us. So essentially, this location doesn't really work for us. So we went back to some of the other locations. I'll tell you what staff is recommending at this point is to basically go to the other end of the parking lot. So again, it's down the corner here. The idea is we would lose a couple of parking spaces because we need to scooch it, as you can see on the graphic, a little bit further to the east to get away from the edge of the easement. Do some curb work here, but it leaves enough room for cars coming around. It doesn't impede the drive flow. Okay, so that's staff's recommendation. Again, we may have to look at some of the crepe myrtles here because of the sight distance, but generally it's not too bad. But we looked up and down the length of the thing, and this graphic again shows you where that easement is that we're trying to stay out of from GVC, shows you where we have a couple water lines and things like that, where we have trees. We looked at a few locations. Again, our preferences here. The problem in this location is, again, it gets in that driveway and sort of throws the whole thing out of whack. We could set it further back here, but then it's up among those big trees, those maybe even heritage oaks trees, and those are certainly a protected class of casing for tree, and we just talked about tree mitigation, so don't want to be taking those out. We looked at in front of the kind of monument here. It just doesn't seem really to be a good fit where you've got the flagpoles and the little walkway. This is also the area where we do the Christmas tree, display, and it seems to kind of get in the way of all that with the menorah and the Christmas tree. We then look down at the opposite end, but again, you'll remember we've got the stone monument sign. And so in trying to avoid the GVC easement, we think this is sort of the best location that it's got. It's fairly visible from both directions. And again, we don't necessarily think people are using that to turn. We're really using it to communicate information out to the public, and having that good visibility, we think it kind of captures what we need to with it. So again, not ideal with the way the easement lays out, but from a staff perspective looking at it, we think that's the best location, would be our recommendation. But again, wanted to let you know that to see if you had other thoughts.
I agree with your assessment here because, first of all, it's too close to the curve. If you put it closer to that number 2, someone doesn't take that curve enough, that sign's going to be damaged.
That was our fear as well. Somebody in a big suburban type vehicle maybe trying to get out of a council meeting on time.
Yeah. That's it. You put that number 4, it's going to be covered by some of those heritage oak trees that we have there. Number 1 seems the more logical in my view as to where it should be placed, but we'll just go down the line here. Councilmember Brown.
I do have one question. Do we have any conceptual plans for the vacant lot yet?
So
I know we've talked about so many different things over the years. But.
No, we haven't. So again, you'll recall, I believe we used EDC funds to purchase that. So
I know.
It's in, okay, it's in the possession of EDC. I don't think we do at this point. Again, what was talked about before is, did we want to build another building there maybe for EDC? I don't know that we necessarily need to do that, with the idea, in the subsequent master plan to build the new public safety facility. I don't think we're going to be that strapped for space. If anything, it does a couple things. One is it either could be parking. The other thing, frankly, is it just might be a nice active space without a lot of things. Again, we fenced it off to keep folks from driving on it.
Right.
But the other is, if you think about when we do the parades, right, the BBYA parade that we kind of help with, the Holodazzle Festival of Angel Parade, the Jubilee Parade, the things like that, this may be a nice area that we can activate, right? To have maybe food vendors, water distribution, something like that. To me, I don't know that we're ever going to build anything on it.
Yeah, I'm not advocating that by any means. I was just wondering if there was any other
No.
potential future plans. And that's just fine. Open
Yeah.
space is always good.
And to me, that's probably as we grow and our events get bigger and bigger, we may start to look to activate that with regard to some of our programming we do.
Okay.
Council, any other comments? No, I think we're looking at number 1.
Okay, so again, we've been working with the contractor, so they're queued up, ready to go. So again, we'll go back to this location, and then with the sign design that you guys pointed out. So that was what we needed. We appreciate the input.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. James. Right, we'll move on to item number 12. Standard operating procedures for political signs on city property. These are information packets that were provided to the council and available for public viewing at our website, schertz.com. With that, council, any possible updates or information requested from staff? Seeing none, council, any possible updates that you would like to place on the future agenda? Seeing none, announcements by council members. Mayor Pro Temp Westbrook.
I had the opportunity to eat lunch with the Northeast Partnership.
Hey, Councilmember Davis.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Councilmember Macaluso.
Nothing, sir.
Councilmember Hayward.
Northeastern Partnership Luncheon.
Councilmember Brown.
That's tonight.
All right, the time is now 7:11. We stand adjourned. Easy, easy, easy.
One correction. It says signs will be 24 by 18.